Hello everyone, welcome back to the second part of my screencast. My name is Katrina Davis Kendrick. I'm reference coordinator at the University of South Carolina Aiken, and I'm also a assistant professor here. The second cast is a little bit more informal. I'm just going to take you quickly through some technical tools and just regular tools that I use to help manage a lot of my work here at USC Aiken. So the first place I want to start with is the Reference and User Services Association website, which is ala.org/RUSA. And the reason I like to start here is because they have resources for librarians, and this is where I started. This is my first position as a reference coordinator, and so I needed to know what the service standards were, how to implement services to my library and to my community. So this is where I started. And you'll find those standards here under resources for librarians. So I'm going to click there. And then you'll see right here the second link, RUSA guidelines, standards, and definitions. I'm going to click there. And it's very, very broadly arranged, but if you scroll down, you'll see information about reference and information services. So it starts with the definition of reference, and then you'll see guidelines for behavioral performance for reference and information service providers. And later on down the line, you see information for how you work with, if you have a liaison model of reference service and collection development, so on and so forth. That's there for you as well. And it offers also, which I find very useful, guidelines for medical questions, legal questions, and business responses. These are the areas where we don't offer advice, but you still want to be able to respond to a library user who has concerns. You want to be able to respond in an ethical way. What's also useful is these user populations, and they're going to be very, very useful if you work in a public library. So multilingual collections, older adults, Spanish speaking library users, and teens. So RUSA is where you come to find out broad information about standards and how to implement things, so you're able to assess your services and programs and colleagues if you're doing evaluations later. When you're trying to find out information about daily work of librarianship and tools to use, you want to start with more dynamic information or resources like your professional journals or social networking sites, which you can use in a professional manner, or blogs and things like that, vlogs. So I'm going to go ahead and move to the next resource, which is WorldCat. WorldCat is brought to us by OCLC, and it is exactly what it sounds like. It is the catalog of world collections. So there are over a billion items. Over a million libraries are part of WorldCat. And what I find useful about WorldCat is its new look and feel. It has recently been updated, and now you can create a user profile here if you wanted to do that. You can find books, DVDs, CDs, and articles. I'm going to do a quick search so you can see some of these more user-friendly items. And I'm going to click on this second link to the novel. And one of the things I like about it, and by the way, I'm using in this case WorldCat as a tool for collection development. Users can add tags to items. So if you want to add descriptive words to this book, say for instance, you can start with Alice Walker, and you can add Steven Spielberg because he directed the adapted the screenplay of the novel. You can add Oprah Winfrey since she was a major star in it. Anything you think that would help people locate items, locate this item, you can add it. So you can say Southern literature, for instance. So just keep that in mind. You can also see and write reviews. So if someone had written another review about this item, that could help me decide whether I wanted this item for my own library. Coming over to the right hand side, you see where this orange plus is. You can share information using RSS feeds. You can place it on Facebook. You can use Twitter to disseminate information if you want people to know that this record is on WorldCat or what you might plan to do with this record, you can easily share that information with colleagues. If you've never seen a WorldCat record before, this is how it looks. At the bottom, it shows me where I am right now, and that's probably because I have a WorldCat subscription. Um, but it tells me that a copy of this item is around the corner at the local technical library in the public library system, and then it goes out. So it starts with the copies that are closest to you and moves out. So the next large city for me is Augusta, and about 20 minutes away. And so it's telling me that out of Aiken, then we have things at Augusta. So I use this tool in tandem with more traditional items like choice. Or if you're a public librarian or a young adult librarian, you might also be using Kirkus reviews. So a mixture of traditional and more electronic portals tools can help you determine how to manage and collect and expand your own collections in your library. The next thing I'm going to show you is focusing on offering different services to library users. This is Meebo. And if you are interested in chatting with people, if you've used instant messaging before, this is kind of the next generation. It is a chat aggregator. So what that means basically is a few years ago, I had instant message accounts on Yahoo, AOL, and recently I added Google Talk. Well, now I don't have to log in separately to those items. I can log in through Meebo and get to all of my chat softwares through one place. This is a free service, and it also is something that I use to offer a reference service, virtual reference service here at my library. And what's useful about it is that you can create widgets so that people who want to ask questions don't have to create various accounts or download software in order to chat. So I'm going to open up my school's account so you can see the back end of Meebo. So this is Meebo. On the left, you'll see all of the accounts that we have available so people can add us to their own buddy lists. And then what happens is I'm going to open up another account, another web page, so you can see what's going on with that widget. So I've logged into Meebo, and when my library page comes up and I go into my chat page on my school's library page, here's my chat widget. And as you can see, it's telling me, or also known as the user, that someone is available and waiting for a question to be asked. So I can type my question here and hit enter, and a little sound will show up, and on the other end we'll have that come up for us. So that's what we're looking at right here. So on one side there's a widget going on waiting for a question to be asked, and here we're waiting for a question to be asked. And on the other side, people can ask the question. So Meebo is free, and it's very, very light, and it's very, very user friendly. It's easy to create customizable widgets that match your home page. You can create different colors and things of that nature, which I find kind of fun. The next thing I'd like to show you is something called JoinMe. JoinMe is the most exciting resource I've found so far because I have to do a lot of meetings, and people I want to meet with are generally not in the same place I am. So what happens is you can immediately share. If you hit share, a little piece of software will show up that you'll download. It's very, very light. And when you download that software, what will happen is you'll see this control panel. So what's wonderful about it is you can share your screen. You can chat with people. You can give control of your screen. You can see the participants. You can share control of your screen. And what's even more wonderful is that when you create a session, you have a unique number that is also free, and people can call in. So you're able to call and converse with people as well as chat with people, and you can give control. This is very, very wonderful for collaborations, and I've used this very recently to create a publication with someone who was in another city from me, and it was very, very useful. So I was very excited to see that. So I'm going to close out of my chat here. By the way, you can also have someone join that unique item. If you want to send someone and have them join, just give them that unique number and they can join in with you. So that's how people join your chat. The next thing I'm going to show you, you got caught a glimpse of it as I was moving through my screens earlier, is something called Screencastomatic. This is what I've been using to record these screencasts. It's free. All you need to do is create a user account, and it offers you the opportunity to just create tutorials and screencasts on the fly. And in fact, that's what I've been doing at my library. I've recently used it not only for the purposes of working with your class, but also to create very, very short videos on creating looking at the parts of citations in various formats so students can learn at their own pace what they need to do to create formats. These videos that you create are created on the fly, and it's a simple recording software, one button recording. You can pause and so on and so forth. And what's wonderful is if you have a YouTube account, you can upload those items directly to YouTube, and it's very, very easy. It's very quick, and the videos tend to be very, very clear and very high quality. The next part I want to show you is a presentation software called Prezi. This is a wonderful alternative because PowerPoint is not my favorite. I find it very static, and I'm more or less not a linear thinker. I tend to think a little differently. And what Prezi does is it offers you dynamic presentations. So you can zoom in, zoom out, create frames, and it offers you opportunities to gather information and present it in a different way. It's free, and as you can see, I've been using it quite often. Um, and it gives you a quick tutorial when you come in, and it also offers you great ways to customize your presentations. So if you're not a linear thinker, or you don't really care for PowerPoint, you like something that is a little bit more um, useful and interesting, visually interesting, I suppose it's the best way to say it, you can use Prezi. The last website I'd like to show you is what I've been using to move through these websites with you, and that is Bridge URL. It's an easy way to share a list of URLs or websites. So say for instance you are traveling, and you were looking at different Buddhist temples, and Buddhist temples have websites, and you wanted to send that list of all those websites to your friends so they can look at them themselves. You can list them in that second box and then give a title to that first box. And what it does is it creates a short link, and that link will send you through all of those websites as if it were a slideshow you've been looking at. Here you'll see the slideshow previous and forward. You can pop things out, and you also note that when we're going through these websites, all of the links were active, so the websites remain live through that slideshow. Just as a note, I want to tell you that two of the previous items that we talked about, or that I showed you, Prezi and Screencastomatic. Since Prezi is a dynamic software, meaning that it goes back and forth, zooms in and zooms out, I also want to make a note that Screencastomatic captures that dynamic movement very, very easily, and that's one of the reasons I like it. A lot of other items that I've used, or videotaping or video recording or screencasting items that I've used, don't capture those movements very well. And so Screencast-O-Matic seems to do very well with Prezi, and so again, that's one of the reasons why I like it. So I hope that you enjoy and try out these tools and see if they work for you in your library or even in your personal life. And as a student, I think some of these would be very, very useful to gather information or present information for coursework, or if you're deciding to do speeches and presentations at your workplace. Let me know what you think about some of these, and what are some things you'd like to share with me to make my job easier, or your job easier when you start working in the workplace later. Thank you so much for listening to this cast. I hope you found it useful, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks for listening.